Groove Dragon says, United States healthcare costs twice as much as any other country, but we are ranked 48 in life expectancy. Hold on. Well, that's, I mean, it's a good thing to draw on. It's an excellent point to bring up. 1 second. Let me go back to chat. Life expectancy. Let's see. According to the World Bank, we're 49th in the world, not 48. And our life expectancy is 78.5 years. It's expected to raise to 80 by 2050. People in 2023 are estimated to live 78.4. Let's see. And here's the other ones. Hold on. This is the map of above 80 years. Canada is kicking everybody's ass. So is Australia. And I don't believe that with the spiders at all. That said, yeah. So here's a map. Life expectancy. Above 80 years, that deep green that you see. Obviously, with high birth rates comes high death rates. Nigeria is one of the fastest growing populations, and yet their life expectancy is 54. Those often go hand in hand. Your birth rate and death rate. The lower the death rate, the higher the birth rate, because people replace people quickly and they have lots of kids and not everybody survives. So the children dying lowers the age range. So even if you have people living into their 70s, that overall life expectancy is dropped by the people who die under the age of 10 years old, for example. Okay. So here's, hold on. Here's South Korea. Okay, I agree. Go away. Here's Australia. Australia, 84 years is their life expectancy. Way over here in New Zealand, 82 years. Good old Canada at 82 years. Pretty great. Here's France with 83. Netherlands with 82. Spain, these are all northern countries. There's Sweden with 83. America is at 79.463. By the way, racial homogeny will give you better numbers most of the time. But let's see, Algeria is doing all right with 76. Brazil's got 76. Down here in Chile, it's 81. It's all that beachfront living. That'll drag you out. Meanwhile, here's China, 78. 780817. It's a year lower than ours. About half a year less than ours. China overall. Now, down here, they have the Taiwan's is 80. That's higher. And then Hong Kong was down here. Where is it? There's Thailand. Where's the little... I guess they don't... Vietnam is at 7. There's China, 78. Vietnam's at 74. So Hong Kong, the reason is that China, Hong Kong is... Hong Kong has a higher one at 85, but mainland drops that off. So Monaco has the highest one. In Europe, San Marino, then Japan and China. And this is the Hong Kong area, autonomous region, not China mainland. Japan, the Republic of Korea, that would be South Korea. St. Bartholomew in North America, which is way up over here. Where is it? This guy, where are you going? St. Bartholomew. And it's too small to even. There's Iceland. And Greenland is at 70. It's lower than us, but it's cold up there. Hold on. I don't know. They don't separate it out. St. Bartholomew is down in the islands, maybe. There's Cuba at 78. Haiti at 65. Dominican Republic at 73. Not good. Mexico. All right. Anyways, French Polynesia, Andorra, Switzerland at 84, Australia, Italy, Singapore. Most of these are in the 85 to 83 zone. That'd be the top places all the way to Iceland. Then you get to Martinique. These are the 82s. Then you get down to Puerto Rico, Cyprus, Slovenia. America doesn't get credit for Puerto Rico, even though it's part of North America. The UK at 81, And then we're way down here. Hold on one second. There's Peru and Colombia. And did I scroll past it? I did. United States is up here. We're above the Falklands and Estonia and Saudi Arabia and Northern Mariana Islands and Poland and Croatia and Slovakia and Uruguay. And we're higher than Cuba and Kosovo and Turks and Caicos and Bosnia, Herzegovina. And we're above China and Jordan and Lebanon and Peru and Colombia and Iran and Antigua and Bartona and Sri Lanka and Ecuador and Argentina and North Macedonia and the British Virgin Islands and Guam. And although I think that should be part of our territory, so maybe that eats into our number while taking it away. Hungary, which is being run by a very smart, tough guy, who is very, whatever. St. Helena, Serbia. Let's see, way down here. Who's dragging ass down here? Nigeria is at the bottom. Chad, Central African Republic, Somalia, Guinea, all the places nobody gives a shit about, sadly. Ivory Coast, Liberia is largely African countries. Haiti is the one North American country that comes close. Papua New Guinea and Oceania, and then there's Asia overall, Gabon, Ethiopia, Malawi, Namibia, Fiji. Palestine is actually higher than Senegal and Eritrea. There's Libya. So, do we rank 49th in the world? Yes. Is the difference between it measurable in years or direct cause of death as far as like what's treatable? Because obviously our numbers are higher because of gunshots. Let's see. How about this? Let's look at cause of death by country. Whatever. Okay. That's our leading cause of death vary by country. In most countries, it's cardiovascular disease or cancer, because that's usually what you die of at the tail end. Africa, infectious disease are more common. West African countries, leading cause. In South Africa, it's HIV/AIDS. Let's see. In the U.S., fast deaths. Heart disease, cancer, COVID-19 ranked up there because it was an infectious disease. These are the leading cause of death in the country. Heart disease, largely a lifestyle disease in America, beyond what healthcare can do. I think we could all agree that a lot of this has to do with diet, lack of exercise, that kind of stuff, right? Cancer of varying forms. There's cancers you cause yourself to get by smoking, and then there's cancer that you get because of shit in the water, and then there's genetic cancer. Accidents, which are also known as unintentional injuries, as opposed to that shit that kills rednecks all the time. 227,000. So accidents are the third highest cause. COVID was the fourth highest cause. And this is, I don't know what we're dating on. This is 2022. So this is gonna be an outlier year. Stroke, which I would argue is sort of up there with heart disease. Chronic lower respiratory diseases. This would be smokers' deaths and emphysema and other diseases along that line. Alzheimer's, again, late dementia, that kind of stuff. A lot of people will die from this, but that's age related largely. Diabetes, largely lifestyle, although not entirely. Nephritis, nephrotic syndrome, and nephrosis. This would be related in a lot of ways to diabetes and other stuff. Chronic liver disease and cirrhosis. That's alcoholism. Okay. So what are we spending more on? Yeah, COPD. Yep. Would be related to that. Mesothelioma. That would be in the cancer department, correct? And that's not that is a that's less about treatment and just exposure that was the cause of that. And of course, diseases of the kidney, which are bugging my dad right now.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
Well, all right. Point is, one of the reasons we spend twice as much on healthcare is because we have more money to spend. Yes, gun deaths are are in here, but they're not in the top. This is 2022 numbers. I don't know if we, let's see, deaths and mortality related fast stats. Let's see. That would be reasons for death. Death causes it to. Data for the U.S. Number of deaths, 3.2 million a year. This is a death rate of 984 per 100,000. Again, there's factors like baby boomers aging and getting older, and the outside of the baby boomer generation, reaching sort of their expected maximum. And those folks lived hard. Say what you will about previous generations, but if you think about the baby boomers as being a larger group of people, but also these are the hippies. These are the 70s. These are the first, the front edgers of the AIDS epidemic. There's a window from where these people were fucking around and fucking from 1962 to 84, where this was a big window of cocaine and lifestyle stuff and the hippie generation that had a follow-on attack on their life expectancy as well. Okay. I'm a high risk of cancer. Both parents died of it, but it could be from many factors like smoking and drugs. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of there's a hereditary genetic thing, and then there's your parents had it, so you might too. That's how they used to talk about stuff before they could do tests on these things. Okay. So heart disease, cancer, accidents, COVID, stroke, chronic liver, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, nephritis, chronic liver disease. Life expectancy is 77.5. It's gone up since 2022 because of COVID dwindling. And that took a hit as well. The other thing that I don't think we talk about is that Americans, and okay, hold on. Let's look at this too, because it's important we talk about this. This is good. And I want to thank Groove Dragon for bringing this up. Per capita USA. Okay, so there's this idea. Yeah, here you go. So this is what we're used to seeing about this. Okay, so per capita, Americans spend $13,493 a piece in U.S. health. Back up. Get out of here. U.S. spends more on healthcare than any other country, with annual health expenditures of over $4.4 trillion U.S. in 2022. Now, 2022 was an outlier year as well because of COVID, like I said. And national health expenditures amounted to $13.4 U.S. per capita. Now, part of the thing is, what do you consider health spending? Yeah, here's what do we spend compared to other countries? GDP per capita and health consumption per capita in the U.S. So this would be the United States. And this is GDP per capita is 77,000. So the health expenditure per capita is 12. Okay, so we spend 12, and we on average make 77. Here's Germany, where they average make 66 and they spend 8. Now that's, whatever, 2/3 of what we spend on it, and they make a full 12 less, whatever, 11,000 less per capita per person. So that's not a huge arguably they spend more per capita in terms of GDP than we do. Switzerland, there we go. This is the 100K zone. They average 90, they spend 8. This is Norway, where they average 121,000. They spend 7. Now, they do have a proper program. They have a proper health service and that kind of stuff. But it's a more active society. They have more omega-3s. Their diet is cleaner than the U.S. diet. And the standard American diet is what drives up that expenditure. So this GDP per capita and health consumption spending per capita, U.S. dollars, 2022, current prices and PPP adjusted. Now, here we are again. At the highest per capita. Now, the question is, what counts as health spending? Do some countries count dental as health care or as dentistry? Does the United States count it all together? Do facelifts count as health care? right? Or do tummy tucks or a gastric bypass, right? Does that count as healthcare in that expenditure? Lipo, right? Does that count as a health expenditure, or is that cosmetic, or is it both? Right. Okay. Quit smoking January 15th, 2008 using chance. Right on, big dog. Glad you quit. Right. I agree it shouldn't, but it kind of does. Right. Now, so data from Australia, Belgium, France, the U.S. are estimated data from Australia. Data from the rest of them are provisional. Okay. Get the data. Download. Open that shit. Come on. I don't know. Look for it. I'm not gonna shit. I open it with WordPad, I guess. I don't use PCs. This is nuts. What the fuck? That's not data. That's just a number. You asshole. Okay. So here we go. Health expenditures per capita, U.S. dollars, current expenditures, PPP, adjusted 21 to 2022. So this is 2021. This is 2022. The question is, what constitutes this 2.9 increase? This is slightly higher than the previous increase between 2020 and 2021, much higher than the 9.8 increase from 2019 to 2020. Still much lower, sorry. It's much, health spending per capita increased between 2021 and 2022, with the exception of the Netherlands, where spending declined. So a 2.9% increase, a smaller increase than in most comparable nations, though larger than in Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Belgium had the largest increase per capita health spending among countries with available data between 2021 and 2022, because they added, whatever, like their budget is so small comparatively that adding all the PPE and COVID shit jacked it up. Health spending, a comparable country average. This would be the thing. Austria 2009, 10%. United States 2009, 16%. Again, these are smaller. I don't know why why Austria? Because it starts with an A. Like the population's nowhere close. So here's France 2020, United States 18. Okay. I mean, this is good. Let's break into this. So the question is what qualifies as health expenditures? Average annual growth rate in health expenditures per capita in U.S. dollars, 80 to 2022, has been going down. Oh, this is the U.S. and the comparable country average. Average annual growth rate it's been shrinking. So it was growing by 10% in the 80s. Then it grew by 5%. And then 2005, it grew by 7.2%. And so now it's close to regular, maybe 80s. Again, 80s could have been anything from AIDS to like new levels of medicine and the expenditure on it. New types of surgery available, right? That came online during that time. Then they got cheaper and easier to do. Think LASIK when it started versus LASIK now. Okay. So 2.7%, it's pretty much in line with regular inflation. Pretty close. Long had higher than average spending. Recent years have seen higher spending growth in other nations. Historically, the 80s saw accelerated growth in health expenditures per capita at 10%. That's what I just showed you. Looking at 5-year growth rates during the period from 2005 to 10, saw an average annual growth rate in health spending of 4.1 compared to 7.2% during the previous 5-year period. I mean, we can read the chart for fuck's sake. The question is, what counts as health care spending? And is all money spent in America on healthcare Americans spending money? Because we always hear about foreigners coming over and getting surgery at Yale and shit like that, right? So that matters. Let's see. Let's see. Hold on. Does cosmetic surgery count as medical I don't know if that'd be an expenditure or mental cost in U.S. per capita calculations. I can write capita. Hold on. Capita calculations. I don't care if I'm diving down a hole. This is fun. Okay. Not to aesthetic plastic surgery procedures are most positively correlated with GDP. Aesthetic plastic surgery volume is linked to. Yeah. Okay. Here's. Aesthetic plastic surgery volume in the U.S. is linked to GDP, but not disposable income. So it's not about how much extra money people have. They get it even if they don't. It's just how. Yes, it's a rabbit hole, Jimmy. I'm not afraid. Recession era has defied historical patterns of current economic situation. The investigation used by Pearson correlation tests to analyze the strength of association between 8 financial indicators and 24 variables, including case volumes and expenditures associated with certain procedures, and a total of 10 surgical procedures were considered. Breast augmentation, breast reduction, mastopexy. Okay. Abdominoplasty, sure. Liposuction, blepharoplasty, that sounds painful. Facelift and rhinoplasty, which is a nose job. There are 2 composite variables included: total surgical procedures and total injectables. Now that would be another part of it, was injectables, because some people will get like an injection, of like Dermafil or whatever the shit that the dude on Newsmax stuffs into his face like marzipan, right? But they do it for because it can help with migraines. So they list it under migraines. So if you get Botox, I'm using it you get it, insurance pays for it because you're using it to treat your migraines that you get apparently by looking at your reflection and thinking I'm getting old and it gives you a headache. Let's see. Economic standards, large. All right, that won't. I mean, this is good stuff because I do want to know this stuff. So, and it's, let's see. What medical costs / procedures are included in per capita medical costs in U.S. versus other countries? Sure, that'll work. Medical, okay, and then okay, so in 2021, the U.S. spent $1,600 per capita on prescription drugs and other medical goods, while comparable countries spent $944 on average. The United States has the highest healthcare costs of 2022. U.S. health spending is higher than anywhere else in the world. Okay, yes, we get that, but for why? What drives health spending in the U.S. compared to other places? Let's look. This is Health System Tracker. Spends significantly more on it. He has worse health outcomes, like Inflation Reduction Act signed into law by Biden has several provisions aimed at lowering the cost of these prescription drugs, priced higher in the U.S. That's the primary one, is the cost of prescription drugs. We spend twice as much per capita on health as other comparable countries, but we also, lifestyle-wise, need them. We have a higher level of obesity and that kind of stuff, right? Implants for mastectomies, that's right, Vincent. That would be counted as a healthcare cosmetic expense. Let's see. Though spending is higher in the U.S., there is little evidence that this gap is driven by higher utilization or higher quality of care. In addition to having generally worse health outcomes, people in the U.S. are less likely to see a doctor, have a long hospital stay, and be able to make a prompt appointment for medical care. The U.S. also has fewer physicians per capita than other countries, making access to care more difficult. So they're more expensive because there are fewer doctors. Spends as much, comparable countries, again, I don't know what you're talking about. In 2021, U.S. spent nearly twice as much on health per person. And again, that's extrapolated out because, again, end of life care, we're spending it mostly when people are old. Both the U.S. and comparable countries spending on inpatient and outpatient care, which includes payments to hospitals, clinics, and physicians for services and fees such as primary care, specialist visits, surgical care, provider administrative medications, and facility fees. See methods for more details. Okay, cool. That's what I need to see. Where's the methods? Methods, here we go. This brief is analyzed with health expenditure and financing data for the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. Excellent. Hold on, I'll blow this up for you guys. Defines outpatient care as that comprises medical and ancillary services delivered to a patient who is not formally admitted to a facility and does not stay overnight. Long-term care is about the same. Okay, let's see. including U.S. Data consisted of current expenditures on health expressed per capita, current prices, current purchasing power, parity in U.S. dollars. Okay. Data in this, in U.S. dollars. Around a comparable country, data was taken by average spending data from countries that have above median GDP and above median GDP per capita. Because they did not have data available for 2021, Australia and Japan were dropped from the analysis. Current expenditures on health consisted of spending as a function of inpatient curative and rehabilitative care, outpatient curative and rehabilitative care, long-term care, ancillary services, medical goods, preventative care. This is the other one too, medical goods. That includes rascal scooters in the United States. I still stand by my claim twice as much, 48 life expectancy. No, I'm with you. But the difference is would an expansion of expenditure change the life expectancy, Groove Dragon? That's what I'm chasing down. Does that make sense? Or would cheaper medical care? Are we talking about a lifestyle difference in these 48 other countries, or whatever, half of them, let's say, where it's semi-comparable, right? Or if we go by life expectancy by state, for example. Hold on. Let's see. U.S. life expectancy by state. As we know, one of the things about education spending we hear a lot from Trump and his ilk is that we have all this, we spend all this money, we spend so much on education, and yet we get these bad outcomes. When in reality, if we got rid of like 5 southern states, we'd be #1 in the world. And it's the states that, either want a block grant or drift, money away from education to other stuff. And they've got terrible outcomes that weight the average in the other direction. So let's see. List of U.S. territories. Yeah. So let's see if I can real search. Basic elections. Yeah, here you go. So this is kind of the point I'm trying to make. This is the United States. This is life expectancy in the United States. Now, the black areas are 80.5 to 80.9 on average. This is a 2019. This is pre-COVID, but you get the idea. Where do you think, and this is really important, look at this. Where do you think most of the money being spent on life extension and cancer, and preventing cancer and treatments like that are happening in the country? I would argue New York and California, perhaps Washington State, some of the surrounding northeastern territories. That's where you're spending. Yale is right over there in Connecticut. That's where a lot of money is being spent on medical services, correct? And that's where the life expectancy is the highest. But look where the drop off is in life expectancy in the United States. And the Mayo Clinics in Minnesota, exactly. Look at California, New York, highest life expectancy in the fucking country. Look at, and all blue states, by the way, but in large part, and look at the South. Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Georgia has a little bit of a spike up. North Carolina does better than South Carolina, and that has a lot to do with the northern attitude versus southern attitude, diet, exercise, deep fried Snickers bars, shit like that. And this is kind of important because these are the states that are spending all the money. These are the states, like if you talk about people spending a lot of money to keep themselves alive, New York and California are the biggest ones. Yeah, New Jersey's way up there because it's ancillary around there, right? There's there's a lot of universities that have medical facilities attached to them, have hospitals attached to them, right? This is the exact same thing that I was showing you guys about education spending in the United States. 15 of the states that get the most federal funds and are at the absolute ass end of education results voted for Trump. And when he cuts spending from the Department of Education, those are the states it's going to help. I mean, it's going to hurt the most. It's like California. it doesn't get anything from the federal government for education or health care or any of this stuff. It pays more in to take care of these states. The states that are all full of self-important assholes like Mike Huckabee, who think that, you know, these are where the bootstrappers live. California's is, I mean, Florida, like California's in the jet black, but look at, like, Florida's kind of deep green. That's because people retire there and they live a little bit longer because they are the kind of people who expect to live past their retirement. Look at West Virginia and Mississippi, though, for fuck's sake. You're from Philly and you have the best research? Well, you know, Pennsylvania's not bad. I mean, it's at, what is it, 78 to 70, yeah, it's in the 78 to 78.4 region. But again, you got a lot of gun deaths. This includes other stuff too. This is overall all-cause mortality. Okay, so and it's a fascinating point, but I think worth dealing with. Let's look at federal education spending by state. Let's see, public spending. Oh, that's public spending. I need federal dollars. Yeah. How much money do you spend on education? Which states rely the most on federal aid? By comparison, here you go. States okay. State and local revenues depend on federal money to different degrees. Percentage of total state and local revenues from federal government grants. California has 162 billion, which is 14% of its overall revenues are from the federal government. Texas is 22%. Louisiana almost is 30% of its budget, of its overall government revenues, come from the federal government. 30%. Kentucky, look at this. Mitch McConnell earned his fucking keep, people. 30%, 30.1%, higher than fucking Louisiana, which was 29.9. Mississippi, 25.9. Alabama, 26.7. New Mexico, because it's only 14 billion, so 30% is a higher number for lower parts of it, but they have a lot of those little schools. Montana, oh, look at that. The bootstrappers up there, 31% of their budget, receive 31% of its overall revenues from the federal government. And remember, some of this is military. Like there's some shit up in Montana and I would argue North Dakota and Wyoming. Wow! That they're getting a lot of like NORAD kind of money. So there's South Dakota. It gets 15%, which is low. But again, there's nothing, like it doesn't spend anything. There's not any fucking people there. It gets $2.6 billion in federal aid for its it's probably all federal. It's all the parks. That's right. There's Maine, gets 23%, 5.7%. Anybody, by the way, any state with a border can be expected to get a certain amount of it because they'll get, you know, especially the southern border, which is what all this shit is. There's a bunch of that. But like Arizona got $31 billion. New Mexico gets 14. What the fuck did New Mexico do wrong? California, though, is a border state. And gets 14% of its budget. Alaska, 29%. Percentage of total state and local revenues from the federal government grants. These are just grants, too. These are not other stuff. Yeah. SNAP and Medicaid is another great example. Hold on. Which states get most SNAP funding? Food benefits by state. Now, part of it, you know, the per capita stuff will be out of the way, but here it is. SNAP participation by state. Okay, and this will be approximately 12.6% of Americans are participating in supplemental nutrition assistance program in November of 2022. Okay, so this is, let me shrink this down for you. Shrink down, you silly. Hold on. Control minus. There you go. Let's shrink this down a little bit so you can look at it. So these are SNAP participation by state from 5% at the lowest, which is, again, this is of the 12.6%, according to the Department of Agriculture, which administers the program, preliminary tally, 42 million Americans, around 12% of the nation, were participating in the program as of November 2022. In some states, the figure approaches 1 in every 5 residents. That would be states like Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Illinois. Interestingly enough, 16% of Illinois residents participate in SNAP. Now, that's 2 million. That's that's because Chicago is gigantic and the Austin and South Side are impoverished. So you'll see a lot of that numbers. You'll see the like any country, any state with a big city, you'll see, because they have large volumes of people, you'll see a percentage, of people. There's 5 million people in California that are on 5.1 that are on SNAP. Meanwhile, there's 512,000 in New Mexico, but that's 24% of residents. That's a quarter of the people in New Mexico are on SNAP. Jesus Christ, I got to move there and run for office. Shit. West Virginia, 18% of the people in that state are on SNAP. God damn. Now, Pennsylvania's 14%. 14% in New York. That's about the, again, enormous size. This is New York residents participate in SNAP. Okay, so in a rolling thing, 2 million people there, 1.8, about the same, Pennsylvania to New York. Michigan has 1.3, which is, again, by population. I don't know if they have them written out by, like, percentage of Americans experiencing food insecurity and loss of income. Let's see. This was May of 2020, was 40%. That's because of COVID, and now it's gone back down. Over here in this, I guess this is an older one, anyways, because a lot of this will, let's see, to boost high inflation foods, states with the highest SNAP participation rates. Here you go. Here's the highest participation rates: New Mexico, Louisiana, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Oregon, Illinois, Alabama, Massachusetts, Nevada, and North Carolina. Fucking rip Portland. Rip Portland. So sad. That's, people forget that, like, Portland is a very rural state. And besides the stuff that's close to the water, it's a big chunk of land that might as well be Idaho. Louisiana, 20%, 19.5. New Mexico, 24.3%. Shit. A quarter of the fucking state has to get snapped to survive. Yeah, 80% of those are red, and again, the other two are, are rural beyond the middle of it, like Oklahoma. Like Illinois and Oregon, rather. But let's look at, and so this is kind of important to all these things. So, and by the way, SNAP benefits, for food and that kind of stuff. Let's see. Show SNAP participation rates. This is the FDA. Here you go. All eligible people fiscally, okay, more options, select a state, select a year. This is the 2020 is the latest one. So this is 2018. Rate range of the people who are eligible, how many actually participate in it? Now, this is fascinating. Those who qualify versus those who actually get it. All eligible people, working poor, elderly. So these are the one or the other. So the working poor in these areas that qualify take SNAP or don't. And then elderly people in these areas take SNAP or don't. And then this is everybody who's eligible takes advantage of it. And in Pennsylvania, Illinois, New Mexico, Oregon, and Washington, almost everybody who qualifies for it 96 to 100% of the people. So what it tells me is that in these states, they are making sure that people who need it get it. And then there's a softening of it once people, take it or don't take it out of pride. The fascinating part to me is that look at working poor in this situation. California, only 55 to 65% of the quote unquote working poor in California who qualify for SNAP actually use it. 55 to 65. Like, if you want, like, who are the fucking bootstrappers in this country? The people who qualify and don't take it. And that would be Wyoming and North Dakota and Kansas City and Arkansas and Virginia. These are they're 55 to 65% participation rate, but so is California. Meanwhile, Texas has a higher participation rate than California or Virginia. Now, again, Virginia, big portion of that is in and around the D.C. area versus the rest of the state, because you can see over here how purple it is around Kentucky and Tennessee, so it weights the average. I bet if you went by the state, let's see, more options, select a state, Virginia. Get in here, you rat. There you go. You'd find that, well, we'll see. Let's see, select a year, go to 2020. Show me the state, God damn it. Can I click on it? It works? Nope. Guess it just gives me the number and just select it. That's not helpful. This is great. It's a great system. Thanks, guys. Have I bored or scared you guys yet? I think so. This is what happens when we get down a rabbit hole caused by this dipshit's hairdo. Also, for the record, in Kentucky, more people qualify for SNAP than take it. It's at, let's see, what is it at? Yeah, it's in the same zone as it's 55 to 75%, as opposed to 55 and 65 under California for all eligible. Working poor, California, Kentucky, where's these? Why am I not seeing the overall rates? Never mind. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make on this outcomes and the like, when it comes to like federal money spent on education, or if we looked at like SNAP participation, which is a dietary thing, or we look at education outcomes, like let's see, education outcomes per pupil per dollar US by state. Sure. Okay, expenditures per pupil on public and elementary and secondary education in the United States vary by state. Highest spending is New York, which spends $29,897 per pupil in 2022. Lowest spending includes Utah, Oklahoma, and North Carolina. Overall, spending on education per pupil increased 3.4% during the 2018 fiscal year. Let's see. This is 2025. We get real updated data. Let's take a look. Okay. So per pupil spending, and I'm assuming, yeah, New York is blue. So the reddest is the lowest, and then the bluest, and this is per pupil. So California spends $16,000 per pupil, and again, this is like a red state mixed with a blue state. So in the cities it'll be high, and in the other areas, and we got Montessori schools and shit like that. But New York overall state $30,000 per pupil. Chicago, Illinois, and our friends over Chicago, $20,000 per pupil. Wyoming, $19,000 per pupil because they don't have any. Washington State, $19,000, $18,500. Here you go. But way down here, Arizona, $9,000 per pupil. Utah, Idaho, at the ass end of that. Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. This is their spending. Let's see. Here you go. So New York at the highest. Vermont, New Jersey, Connecticut, East Coast. Northeast is obviously doing this. Alaska, because it's expensive just to have schools because it's fucking freezing. Illinois, Pennsylvania. Again, some of this is just for buildings and the like that It takes more to build a school in some of these places. Rankings in education. Here you go. Rankings. Ew. What the fuck? Global data sets. Age of consent by state. Jesus. What the fuck is going on in Nevada? Happiest countries in the world. Murder rate by country. Safest countries. This is going to be fast. Oh, boy. Poorest states. And what a shock. Blue laws by state. What? Oh, like homelessness population by state. Sure. Childcare costs by state. Brass knuckles legality. They're not legal here. Uh-oh. Shh. Average IQ by state. California's not doing too good because it's a very mixed population, I guess. Castle doctrine, that'd be stand your ground kind of laws. If somebody comes in your house, you can shoot them. Circumcision rate by state. Cleanest cities in the U.S., not very many of them, I guess. Divorce rate. Ooh, the South is not doing good. Boy, these rednecks just jettison their wives. Coffee production by country. Pet ownership statistics. That's adorable. All right, sideline. So, point of order, Mr. Chairman. Dog ownership rate. Pets overall in the one. Hold on. Pet ownership is this. 40% of people in California have a pet. New York, 50. Illinois, 48. Look at this. Mississippi, we got a shit ton of dogs down here. Arkansas. Wyoming. Wyoming's got the most fucking animals. I'm guessing dogs or a bunch of fucking cats running around. Vermont, look at this. If I could write it. Vermont has the most cats. We like them because they are the kind of pets that people can have and they're very inexpensive. We view dogs as the animals of oligarchy. If you think of kings, they always had dogs. But working people have cats because you got to work and they can take care of themselves. Oh. Maine, West Virginia, Indiana, cat ownership rates in 2016. Kentucky, way out. We had 24 cats on our farm in Kentucky, so I don't know that this tells you the real picture. Is it how many people own pets or how many pets are owned by one person? Because we're in Nevada right now and we have 4. We used to have 5, but we've been chat. And in Illinois, this number has changed because Johnny Million has 2 new cats. So much love to Johnny Million. All right, where's this shit again? Cigarette prices. I love this site. Where has this site been all my life? Cotton production by country. Gee, China sure is purple. Median home price. California's through the roof, and nobody wants to live in Louisiana. It's very strange. I always love this too. Like, again, look at the places where the house prices are expensive, and that's also where all the medical expenses are also higher. And that's because people who own a lot of real estate don't want to die early, whereas the rest of these fuckers are like, you gotta die of something. Smoke them if you got them. The median home cost in Louisiana, though, is $260,000. That's silly. It's cheaper to live in Kentucky, and you'll live longer. And Tennessee, look at 385. That's fucking Nashville. And Graceland, I guess. Look at up here, though. California's at 800,000. That's the median. And then, what's up with Johnny? He got 2 new cats because he lost Flora, and so they fostered 2 more. I've gone full White Rabbit. It's true. Well, because a lot of this shit we've been watching online is just chit-chat until something happens. So I think it's best to go, forewarned is forearmed. Washington State's 621. New York is actually lower, but that's because there's New York City, which is through the fucking roof, and then there's rural New York all along up here, which is pretty fucking cheap. It's like Pennsylvania being Pennsyltucky. It's at 300K, and it's only slightly higher than Michigan and Ohio and Indiana. Like West Virginia's at 297. It's because there's so few houses there. Florida's at 409. Georgia, you think it's funny how like some of these places you'd think people, but I guess it's a lot of trailer parks. Quite frankly, that's what it is. All right, another one. At some point, I'm just going to have to do a banana production by country. You simmer. Black population by state. Look at this. Look at Texas. Texas got 4 million black people living in it. More than California. There's 3 million black people living in California. There's 4 million living in Texas. Some of these won't be that surprised. Vermont, we have 9,000. I know them all personally. New Hampshire has 20,000 black people. Maine has 25,000. North Carolina, 2.4 million. Florida with 3.7 million. Georgia with 3.5. North Carolina's got 2.3. There's Illinois. There's Chicago for you. It's largely in Michigan, like around the urban centers and stuff. Same thing with like Maryland, 2.2 million in Maryland. Look how small that is compared to like Illinois. Yeah, Maryland has as many black people in it as California. Just about. California has 2.8 million black people in it. Maryland has 2.2. 9 million Sanders residents. I know everyone. What's the price in Indiana? It was $270. 260, I think it was. And here you go. Let's look at education. Teacher pay by state. Look at the states with the highest educational outcome. Look at the states with the highest income per capita. Look at the states with the highest real estate. Look at the states and then look at the states that spend the most on teachers. Look at the states that have the lowest healthcare outcomes. Look at the states that have the lowest educational outcomes. Look at the states that have the lowest per capita income, and look at what they pay their teachers. You think that might be correlative, if not directly causative? It's funny that you try to look at it. It's funny when you say, look at that. California is the seventh largest economy in the fucking world, and they're second only to New York in what they pay their teachers. And largely that's because there's a shit ton. It's so much bigger that there's more rural area that they spread it out over than this state, so it waters it down a little more. Average public school teacher in New York makes $92,000. And an average one in California makes $87,000. Mississippi, $47,000. That's the average. Kentucky, $55,000. And not a shocker at all. $82,000 for Washington State, which is pretty high up there. And then, of course, Oregon does pretty well. But again, that's all the East Coast. It's all watered down. This number would be way higher if you broke it up. If you broke Oregon up and you were like, what is it? Past this line, what do they pay teachers going to the left versus to the right? Yeah, New York can make $92,000. Of course, it's more expensive to live. Again, home costs being what they are, it's correlative. But, there's a big part of that. So let's go down over here. There's New York. There's Massachusetts, $88,000. Connecticut, $81,000. Pennsylvania's up there with $72,000. That's not too bad. New Jersey at $79,000. Illinois at $72,000. Michigan, $65,000. That includes the UP, though, which is no man's land. What websites are these? This is called datapandas.org. I'll throw this up for you. So it's good to have paste that in there. That would be this, datapandas.org. And they go through and break down a bunch of these human trafficking statistics by state. This is going to be a shocker. Fuck. All right, can we just call it Mississippi is ass. Mississippi is a fucking blight. Every single fucking chart we look at, Mississippi is like, y'all need to stop, I got this. Worst of the fucking worst, buddy. Come on now. Miss Assissippi is right. Now, rate of human trafficking cases per 100,000 people. 6.38. That's in Mississippi. That's behind Nevada. Now, there's more people, I think. It's because there's only like 3 cities in Nevada. There's Las Vegas, Reno, and I take it back. There's 2. Right? Looks like Barbie exploded. That's just very sad. It's like yeah. California is only at 3.43. As big a fucking state, half the human trafficking cases of fucking Mississippi, mainly because they're taking all Alabama's clearly. Look at Florida, 3.26. What the fuck is up, Missouri? Missouri, Nebraska. Yikes. Like, you almost get the, we've always heard about human trafficking. Oh, the border states and human trafficking and the border states and human trafficking. Texas and California are basically in line. But, I mean, you're, like, Washington and Oregon, you might have stuff coming from Canada, like Chinese immigrants being trafficked up there, I would guess. Some of that shit. And this would be for farm workers and labor and shit like that. Look at the UP, man. 2.9. You guys know about the UP? Whew. But fucking Mississippi, man. Just, almost everything we look at. Average income. Let's look at average income. There it is. Bottom of the fucking barrel, baby. Let's check out another one. Fucking Mississippi. All right. Oh, wait. Well, here you go. This will be one. Prison population by state. California and Texas. Texas just running away with it. 139,000. Still, in a state that big, shockingly low number. 139,000 people in prison in Texas. Look at Florida, though. 84,000. California, 98,000. Now, this is state penitentiaries all throughout. Texas has 139,000. California, way behind. 40,000 fewer. You could argue we could go up by 10, probably. Florida at 84, Georgia 47, and again, once you're going to by population, that's a huge percentage of fucking. Do they do it by a recidivism rate? This will be a good one. Fuck, people who go back to jail. Here you go, Alaska. I mean, what do you expect? Here you go back. Delaware has the worst recidivism rate in the country. People who keep going back to jail. Fucking Delaware, man. What are you doing, Delaware? Now, there is a, can anybody spot, chat room, can anybody spot in the recidivism rate statistics, the factor that might play against why you have lower recidivism in a high crime state? Bum, 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 bum. Why would Texas have a lower recidivism rate than other states? Bum, 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 ba-rum, bum, bum, bum. Any idea? I'll tell you why. Because they don't get out. That's why. That's right. There you go, Karate Joe. They keep them in jail forever. Well done. That's exactly right. It's the other reason, by the way, that America has more people in jail than other countries. Because in prison, because our prison population is higher, but our jail population per capita isn't that big a deal. And that's because people go to jail, get out, and maybe go back and whatever. But people who've been in prison in the United States, it's because they've been to jail so many fucking times, they finally get to prison and they stay there. And our folks live their entire lives. If you're in prison in the United States, you're pretty much there for good. You get out, like we've let you out so many times in the United States, whereas other countries that, they don't release, like people don't, they either don't live in China or Russia or other places. They just fucking kill them or they all die of something. Ours die of old age. So that's the other reason, not just because we have a shit ton of prisons and the like, which is, again, have your feelings about private, but yeah, the private prison profit motive thing is less of a thing than it ever was. That's a talking point from the 90s that pretty much died an awful death a long time ago. It's something you want to avoid, but it's not a factor. So rankings in terms of, let's see, just the crime part. Okay. Crime, murder rate by country, safest countries in the world. Let's look at this. Oh, fuck me. These are, okay, and then the red is most dangerous. As far, and whoops, sorry, hold on. Violence, acts of violence. I knocked my phone off my chair. America and Brazil have almost the same global peace index. Canada, obviously benefiting from the fact that this is permafrost from here up, and that they're really friendly people. Canadians, I love you. You don't have to say I'm sorry when you open a door for someone. It's nothing to be sorry for. Yeah, Russia's fucked up. Russia is right up there with Congo. China is bullshitting everyone. Just letting you know. That's nonsense. Well, wait look, I did the weave by accident. This ties back into what we were talking about earlier, where people were bullshitting, themselves about what it's like in China and the like, if it's safer there and better education and all that stuff. No, it's not. Phone violence is a thing. It is. I'm sorry. What's up with China? This has to be self-reported. Yes, that's exactly right. Is that and again, the idea that like where are they? What would they be in line with? They're 2, so they're in line with France. Fucking please. But and again, America, like if you want to talk about a country that reports everything, understand that the United States, even in these numbers, we report everything. The FBI, local statistics, victims groups, NGOs, special interest groups or whatever, report every fucking thing that goes sideways, always, ever. We still don't know China's COVID numbers. We do know that they are over 20 million. Just saying. Part of the reason why I'm not going back to the video as well is because for some reason, all of my earbuds have decided to take a shit. So I don't know why. So we're just talking today, because if I try to hear a clip, see, that's what I get, because my headphones were dying. There you go. Sorry, got it. As a matter of fact, fuck it. Knocking it off so it doesn't happen again. There's no fucking way that Ireland is totally safe like that. Just go into a pub and say the wrong thing and you get your ass kicked. And there you go. Just letting you know. I fixed it. All right. So, human trafficking statistics, prison population by state, crime rate by state. Of course, there's fucking Louisiana kicking Mississippi's ass in one particular case. Domestic violence by state. Ay. Shocking. Look at Mississippi. Kentucky way up there. And again, this is often reported. So you'll get places that report it or take it more seriously on par with places that don't and just have a shit ton of it. But Kentucky, 45.3% of women experience domestic violence. Now, I had a joke in my act, and this should explain it to everybody, years ago. I had a joke in my act about women who get lip plumper. And the joke was basically like, if I wanted to date a woman who looked like she'd been punched in the mouth, I'd have stayed in Kentucky. And so few people got it. That it was a social commentary joke about Kentucky. And, of course, that women, you don't need that shit. Now, I understand where your judgment will come from because I have full, beautiful lips and you're like, well, you have privilege. You're absolutely right. Hold on. That's okay. Yes, duck face and all that shit. Right. So, Arizona, 42%. Nevada, 43%. California, though, 34.9. New York, 31.7. What do you know? But look up here, West Virginia, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Michigan, Wisconsin. I went straight to the UP up here, which has got to weight the average. Fucking UP, man. Do you guys know what the UP is? The Upper Peninsula? It's the part in Michigan nobody... Yeah, 31%. This is datapandas.org, folks. And again, take some of this with a grain of salt, but here you go. Mass shootings by country. Now, 101, number 1, the United States. Canada's number 5. They have 4. Russia, 21 mass shootings. China, 1. 1118 in France. 101. Now, does anybody else see what's wrong with the America has the most mass shootings of any country in the world? Does anybody see what might be, say, missing / redacted from the... Of course we're number 1. But one of the reasons we have them is this, see all the gray areas? Not counted. See the gray? These that up here, this is the not reporting. Not reporting, not reporting, not reporting, not reporting, not reporting, not reporting. Also, does anyone believe that somebody's never walked into a school with a gun in Africa and shot the place up? Anywhere on the continent of Africa? Does anybody believe that? Does anybody? See what I mean? Yeah, I would argue Russia's bullshitting too. And they've had more of them lately. Does anybody believe that nowhere in Asia or the Middle East is somebody in fucking Myanmar, Burma, however you want to call it, has not walked into a school and shot the place up at some point? Does anybody think that there have been 101 mass shootings, not just schools, mass shootings? Somebody walks into an area for any reason at all, shot the fucking place up. Right? That's 101 in the United States. We're number one for that. Now, think of all these other countries. Does anybody believe that there have been, never mind zero, less than 30, less than 50, less than 100? Right? Okay. Now, does that mean we don't need to solve our problem? No, it doesn't. But this would be another example of a chart that tells you nothing. Also, you want to break these down by state and by, well, like, again, what qualifies as anything over 3 people as a mass shooting? Because we lowered, depending on how you look at it, raised or lowered the standard, right? Disparity of wealth correlates with lethal violence. Hold on. Wait. No one has the disparity of wealth that we have. Wait. No. Groove Dragon, please. Disparity of wealth correlates with lethal violence? No. Are you telling me that America on the streets anywhere has more lethal violence than Haiti or Darfur or Chad or Nigeria or South Sudan, that area? For real. Yeah, where's Gaza? That's a good point, right? Not included. None of it. None of this is even charted. Here's Yemen, for fuck's sake. Not even anywhere. Is there any correlation? If that's the case, is there any correlation between that in these areas? Yeah, South Africa, I mean, that's a great example. So let's look at that real quick. So chat room, this is important, right? Let's see, South Africa violence. Now this is just news. The hard part will be showing. Let's see, drag. Here's this one. This is 10 hours ago. Oh, don't give me the article. Don't make that a pay article. Hold on. Provincial leaders in Gauteng schools in 2024 compile a report on what's causing the high level of violence, and findings focus on the intensity. Focused intervention study will be used to tackle violence at the Gauteng Provincial Legislature and Department of Community Safety. Compile this violence rife in schools report focus on factors contributing to school violence. Suggest programs that could do this. Little warning. Among the common themes at the schools, visit or prevalence of dangerous weapons, substance abuse, school premises. Boom. Here we go. So 10 reasons behind school violence. This is South Africa. believe in here is communities high rate of poverty. Okay, variety of weapons, sharp objects brought to school, lack of adequate security, gangsterism and tribalism, lack of parental involvement, lack of health role models, lack of training and programs geared towards supporting at-risk learners, skipping classes to gamble and consume substances, inadequate psychosocial support at schools for learners and educators, learner councils not involved in the development of school safety plans, shortage of chairs and desks leading to arguments between learners and educators, insufficient sporting and recreational facilities. Proposed suggestions. These are the generalist thing. And then here's the why were Africa's violence levels up in 2024. This is the ISS. Increasing levels of extreme poverty in Africa were turbocharged by COVID-19, fueling the fire of relative deprivation. 2024 was a bleak year for Africa. Libya and Sudan were partitioned. Ethiopia struggled to contain insurgencies in Tigray, Amhara, and Oromia. And conflict continued in South Sudan and Somalia. Coups placed 4 countries in the Sahel under military regimes of violent extremism, spread terror in northern Mozambique, Mali, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Niger, and elsewhere. In Kenya, a punitive new tax regime resulted in riots, leading President William Ruto to sack his entire cabinet. In Nigeria, Bola Tinubu similarly struggled to effect painful economic reforms after inheriting an unsustainable fiscal situation. That would be the Chinese Belt and Road stuff, by the way. The debt incurred by those African nations from China and they were like, oh, by the way, we own your airport now. In some regions, especially the Sahel, instability and poor development that followed polls led to a resurgence of the military and politics. This is places where nobody has anything. The sham that is passed for democracy in the coup-affected countries damaged the brand, firing a yearning for stability in which development and democracy is not possible. In addition to poor leadership, deeper structural drivers constrained Africa's growth. Okay, this is the academic. And then COVID-19 killed a bunch of people who were, the people that they needed to feed people. And then, let's see, back here. The Independence Online. Language is violence. Black lives don't matter, even to blacks. That was this kind of tendency there as far as gun violence. A nation's soul is judged by how it treats its most vulnerable. By this measure, South Africa stands on shaky ground, its promises of equality and justice faltering under the burden of inequality and neglect. The slogan, "Not Yet Uhuru," captures the unfulfilled promise of freedom, a dream deferred by systemic oppression and indifferences and complicity of those who should know better, black people themselves, who have reached a point where black individuals and elite, themselves survivors of apartheid's brutalities, have turned their backs on the very communities from which they originated and emerged. This is an opinion piece on this idea as well, but you get the picture. Immeasurable levels of violence in those areas, and none of this shows up in the chart we were looking at. These would be Limpopo. Yeah, I'll give you another example, and this would be for the Only in America crowd. 11 murders in 3 days. Limpopo police believe domestic violence drove New Year's killings. Police in Limpopo, once dubbed one of the safest provinces in South Africa, have recorded 11 murders between New Year's Eve and 2nd of January, arrested 7 people in connection with the crimes, according to spokesperson Colonel Malasela Ledwaba. Police believe most of the murders occurred amid domestic disputes. These murder cases were reported in the main Capricorn district, 3 cases, Mopani, 3 cases, and Waterberg and Vihembe, 2 cases. One of these murders, 7 suspects have been out of these murders. 7 suspects have been apprehended by the police. Among the murders was an incident in which a woman was killed, allegedly by her husband in Bolobedu on New Year's Day. In another incident, a 48-year-old man was killed, allegedly by his 45-year-old brother during an argument. And a 26-year-old woman was stabbed to death by her 31-year-old boyfriend. I'm just telling you, like, people are people, so why should it be? You and I should get along so awfully. Bonk, bonk, bonk. There's a lot of parallels the world over, and a lot of times the problems and the solutions are very similar, and if we'd stop pretending that it was unique to us, we might even find comparable solutions in other areas where they've managed to fix it, right? Not against guns, just regulate them. I agree. Here's By the way, if you look at this picture, this is what like Republicans want you to think downtown San Francisco looks like. As a matter of fact, I remember one person on Twitter a while back, maybe even when it was still called Twitter, showing a picture of looting during the South African violence as San Francisco. Continued violent looting, destruction of property, loss of lives fueled by criminal justice failures, ongoing deadly unrest amongst parts of South Africa, fueled by criminal justice failures and years of impunity for violence, Amnesty International South Africa said today, as the death toll continues to rise. South African authorities cannot pretend to be surprised by the proportions this violence has reached. Authorities watched while organized groups blocked the roads, burnt properties, and looted shops and factories last week. The director of Amnesty International South Africa. Riots began last week, and this was in 2021. A lot of this was semi-COVID related, but a lot of it was also, military stuff. The point I'm trying to make is, if a mass shooting is anything that involves more than 3 people, that I've just given you like 7 examples of how the United States doesn't even chart compared to some other places. Doesn't mean we don't have a problem to solve. We absolutely do. But we have to talk about our problems in a realistic way, if that's okay. Because again, this is the chart we just looked at. This is the chart we were looking at right here. Mass shootings by country. Number 1, United States of America. Will we ever solve our problem if this is how we think? You could almost argue that, you know how they did that poll a while back where they asked people, who had watched Greta Thunberg talk, that she demotivated more people than she motivated. More people went, well, I guess we're fucked. Smoke them if you got them, after watching her talk, than went, we've got to do something to save the planet. Most of them came away with, it's over. There's nothing I can do. And it actually lowered people's action of doing anything about it because they wrote it off. It's too big a problem. America will never be able to handle its gun problem. We're number 1 in the world, right? And all of it is aligned with this kind of machismo gun shit that maggots talk about. But how many of you think that if we compared the United States to, war zones or Haiti or something like that, and looked at the mass shooting numbers and paralleled it, that all of a sudden maggots would go, wait a minute, we have the same number of mass shootings that Haiti has, and their own racism would kick in to make them want to stop thinking this was something to brag about? I'm dead serious. We have this many because, we also have a bunch of things that we solve with these, whatever, blah, blah, blah. If you didn't have a gun, all these other bad things would happen, right? The tyrannical government, yada, yada. Yeah? Also, the 101 shootings, again, this is during our history. There are places in this world where there are, this isn't per year. Fuck, did the Russian one go up since the last time we looked? It's 21. Maybe it's serial killers. Let's look at this. Yeah, here you go. Serial killers by state. California, a lot of truck drivers. Number of known serial killers, 15. Texas with 8. Look at New York, 18. Son of a bitch. Now again, who remembers my favorite quote from Mindhunter? Mindhunter's the first of the Hannibal Lecter series. Mindhunter, where Edmund Kemper says, it seems to me that all of your insights have been gleaned about serial killers from the ones you've been able to catch. So these are not necessarily where the most of them come from. These are where the ones that we've caught come from. Yes, that was the Will Graham one. That's right, Remo. Per capita? Yeah, no. Like, I don't know if they have they listed by per capita. This is just a number. I don't even know that you could chart it per capita. Because California has 44 million people and 15 serial killers. New York has a similar. We got to overlay these at some point. One from Florida. Bullshit. Ted Bundy was caught there. I would like to say, not only did What are you just only counting the ones from there? Well, fuck, you can't just say because like what did he come from? Washington, went to Colorado, and then he ended up in Florida. But you're gonna make him Washington's fucking problem? Yeah, prick. And again, we catch ours. What happened with Indiana? Illinois has 7. Wisconsin has 3. But Dahmer, Ed Gein, and who else? So, yeah. Prison population by state, crime rate by state, domestic violence by state, safest states. Okay, I have crime checked in here as a thing. So, Hispanic population by state, no surprise. Look at California and Texas. A lot of the ones don't want to admit it. Blue laws. This is porn, right? Porn laws? Yeah. This is the number of laws about, like, I guess, sexual content and stuff. Absolutely. Alaska has. Okay. Sunday alcohol, no consumption. Restrictions, no restriction. So if California, Sunday alcohol consumption restriction. Oh, this is just alcohol? Yeah, okay. Sunday alcohol consumption restrictions. That's a blue law. Okay. Wyoming, Oregon has restricted Sunday consumption. I guess it's because the stores are closed, right? That would be it. Okay. Big Mac index. Oh, boy. Child care costs, homeless population. No, the West Coast is full of them because people live. Gee, I wonder why. You kind of wonder why the heavily populated states, 74 million people or 74,000 in New York, which are almost entirely around the New York, New Jersey area, that one area where the rest of them is kind of light compared to California and the West Coast and down here. All the areas where either you have the money to have shelters, which would be New York and these areas, or you simply can live outdoors most of the year and not die. So average IQ by state, clearly I raise it wherever I go. California, 95. What the hell? What do they have, like 3 geniuses living in Mississippi? I call bullshit. Maybe they're all criminal masterminds. Look at fucking Minnesota, though, 103. North Dakota, 103. It's all these engineers and people. New York, not doing so good, 100. New York and Texas is the same. I guess it's kind of evened out. Massachusetts, 104. I think MIT's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. New Hampshire, there you go, at 104. Shit. Pegging it out. New Hampshire and Massachusetts just killing it. But North Dakota and Minnesota, both of them, and again, what's the fall off? Louisiana, 95.3. Simmer down. Then, all right, we're almost done. This is fascinating to me. And we did median home price, cotton production worldwide, sure. And again, that was what I was talking about initially with China. Look at this shit. The United States has 3.6 million metric tons in cotton production. China does 6.2. We're more than half of what they produce, and we don't use slave labor. India, 6.2. They're equal to China, and they don't use slave labor either. It's fascinating how you can do that. You can produce a lot without doing it. Brazil, a lot of it. And then, of course, Australia has a lot of it, and that's because that's a dry brush state. Turkey does a bunch. And then, of course, Mexico does some. Not a lot, though. Which state has the most private prisons? It doesn't really say that. It just goes by, that I've seen anyways. Countries in Africa, geography, but largest countries in Africa, teacher by birth rate, Gini coefficient. Yeah, per capita income by state, average income by state, wine production by country. States with the lowest cost of living. Gee. Hawaii, highest level, highest cost of index, cost of living index, $1.84. It's going to cost you $1.37. Whereas Mississippi, as smart as people are, nobody wants to fucking live there because there's too much crime and human trafficking and drugs and shitty people. But California is slightly higher than New York, but only barely. But Massachusetts, man, 149. second highest. So the lowest cost of living, lowest. This is one of those lists where you want to be at the bottom, I guess. Mississippi at the bottom with Oklahoma and all these things, but way down here at the bottom, there's Hawaii, Massachusetts, California, New York, Alaska, because is where livable land is premium. Maryland, because of DC, and Oregon, because of fucking Portland and the surrounding areas, and then Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont. That we a very expensive place to live, but the dollar goes farther. Safest countries in South America, not Brazil, apparently. City. Oh, here we go. Murder rate. Well, sorry. Cities with the most murders. Murder rate by city. Let's see if there's a difference. Las Vegas. Hold on. What is it? Oakland, murder rate 17.1 per 100,000. Las Vegas, 31 per 100,000. Kansas City, 31. Jesus. Detroit, 39. Cleveland, 33. Baltimore, 51. Fucking hell. St. Louis, 69. Hello. Memphis, 27. New Orleans, 40. Tulsa, 18.6. St. Louis is the highest. Baltimore, New Orleans, Detroit, Cleveland, Las Vegas, 31. Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas, but whatever. Distinction because they overlap. Chicago, Newark, Cincinnati at 23. Look out. Philly, 20. Milwaukee, Tulsa, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Oakland. Oakland's way down here, actually. DC at 17. Atlanta, Georgia at 16. And then I wanted to see if in this murder rate, this is cities with the most murders, murder rate. Is this the same fucking thing? Yeah, it is. I don't know why. You're disappointing me, Data Pandas. Rape statistics by state. Oy. By country. Oy. Okay, look at this. This will go by your reported stuff. Some countries will have a very low rate because they don't report. Other states will have a very high number because you can report and be honest about it. Alaska, yikes. 148 per 100,000. Off the fucking charts, Alaska. California's at 37.5. And New Jersey's at 17.2. Connecticut at 21. But Mississippi's at 25. Florida, 39.4. What's the worst? The reds are the worst area. Look at fucking South Dakota. Jesus. Michigan, Nebraska, Colorado. Yikes. And then this is by country. Now, again, America, look at this. Number 13, 27 per 100K. Canada, 1.6 per 100K. Way down. Mexico, 13.2. Brazil doesn't even report. Most of Africa doesn't report. Russia, 3.4. Really? China doesn't report. Look at that. I would argue if you automatically get to the top of the list if you don't report. Botswana has the worst at 92 per 100,000. Lesotho, South Africa, Bermuda, Sweden at 63.5. Wow. And again, this is you'll see these as like reportable NGOs versus, like reporting for victims versus the legal system actually works so everybody feels comfortable reporting if it's happened, right? So this will be a staggering thing for some countries, and then other ones will just be reported like Australia, Belgium, USA are almost in line. Australia and Belgium have more than the United States. UK is, 0.02 behind us. New Zealand, and Zimbabwe. A lot of this you're going to see just not reported. Woof. Yeah, I know the Sweden one caught me off guard. But again, that's the reported part. Say that it was countries in the most corrupt countries. Let's look, shall we? So, gee whiz. Libya, 17% corruption. Hold on, what's the standard? 69%. Corruption perceptions. Corruption perception index. Somalia is the lowest, so nobody cares. Like, I guess it's if you give a shit about corruption. Because like Australia and New Zealand are like, New Zealand's 87%, Australia is 75%. So you want to be on that end of things. You want to be way down here in the corruption perception index. Like Denmark's 90%, Norway 84%, the U.S. is at 69%. Look out. But way down at the bottom of people like, well, it's just life. Stuff sucks. Egypt, Zimbabwe, Chad, Syria at 13%, Somalia, like nobody can even bother. South Sudan, Venezuela, Yemen, North Korea, Burundi, like nobody's even allowed to say anything in North Korea, so that should tell you something. 45% in China. 73% in Japan. China's a coin flip, according to the people there. I'm dragging this on, aren't I? Are you guys all right? You still with me? Because I feel like I kind of don't give a shit because I find this fascinating. And it got us down, and I want to thank Groove Dragon for bringing it. Please, Hal, check out Mr. James Gilligan and Dr. Brandy Lee on connection between wealth disparity and lethal violence. I will gladly do it, but I will also say that there is a lot of science on the idea that crime causes poverty more than poverty causes crime, because inherently poor people are not inherently criminal. And the belief that poverty, causes a rise in crime or drives people to criminal behavior speaks ill of the poor more than it speaks ill of the system. So that's why I push back on it. Oh, good. I like stats also. This is great. I got a subscription to Statista because of you guys, because we needed it. To that rate, people were asking about like, gun deaths and all that kind of stuff, and like, gun crimes and the mass shooting part of it. This should give you another example, chat, if I may. Look at our old friend, Mississippi. Top tier gun deaths per capita by state. There it is, Mississippi, just sucking fucking wind at every turn. California 9.2, not the bottom, but not anywhere near the top, and especially per capita on a diverse state like that. New York is at 5.5, not high at all comparatively. Massachusetts 3.5, but 32. Fuck me. Louisiana's at 28. These are all in the 20s. New Mexico, with our old friend with low education spending. Mississippi 2, right? Louisiana 28.9, New Mexico 27.4, Wyoming at 26.6, Alabama, Alaska, right up there with all the rapes. Alaska's sketchy as shit. Montana, these are gun deaths, right? Missouri. Now, again, does it say self-inflicted? Is it shootings? Are these all created equal? That's a good question to ask. Wouldn't you agree? Lies, damnable lies, and statistics. That's one of the reasons, Johnny Deltronic, in our chat room. It's an excellent point. Damn, what's up with Mississippi? It's kind of a dump on so many fronts. Like, it needs fixing. It's what the fuck is going on? Across the board, Mississippi just, and again, I bet you anything, there's like a big industry there that controls most shit. And it's, what do you think, docks and oil rigs, shit like that? All right, and this is the sketchy part. I don't know. Here's all the places where we'll find out where 16 in all these states. Is that the lowest? Hopefully, 16, 17, and 18. These are the states of consent. And remember, Alan Dershowitz wrote a whole paper about how he believes that there should be no age of consent. It's absurd, because if teenagers can fuck teenagers, then adults should be able to fuck teenagers, according to him, which is fucking gross and stupid and nasty and awful, and fuck him. Figuratively, because he's a scumbag. No surprise, the states with the highest education stuff oftentimes will have 18, 18, 18, 18. Tennessee did 18, and so did Virginia. In Virginia, again, its proximity to D.C. probably had a lot to do with that. Wisconsin at 18, North Dakota at 18, Florida at 18, but that's because you reverse the number, and there should be a top out number, like no sex over 81. I'm kidding. People should have long, vibrant sex lives. I'm with Dr. Ruth on this, well into their whatevers. Just as long as you remember to moisturize, because old people their skin gets very dry and they can burst into flames. So they rub up against each other. Foof. I'm just saying, forewarned is forearmed. All right. So, no surprise, I guess, that some of these have done it in response because they had to. North Dakota, like these RICA lawsuits, it's like when you get a microwave and it says there's a little addendum in your microwave instructions say don't use this to dry your pets. Like, why the fuck is that in there? Because somebody tried. So, and these had to be raised to 18 because something happened, right? Tennessee, there was definitely a lawsuit, right? And people are like, And meanwhile, Kentucky's still at 16, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, shit, the majority of states are 16. The next, and then the equal number of 17 and 18, I think. Look at fucking Nevada, this sea of 16 in the middle of 18s. Look at it, it's like all these states are reacting to Nevada, going, wow, these motherfuckers, we gotta have these Nevada assholes coming over into our city. We gotta change the laws. This will bleed into our shit. Utah, 18. That's why they have to take their little sister wives to Mexico. Alabama, all this shit. Fuck. Happiest countries in the world. Murder rate by country. We looked at this. Maybe this is a good one to look at. I don't know. So here's the murder rate. Murder rate in the United States is 4.9. We are 76th. Look at that. Right up there. We're, if we got 49th in healthcare outcomes, we're 76th in the number of homicides. Out of all these countries, China's full of shit. 0.53. They're 178. Please. That's because they got a giant group of people. South Africa's at 36.4. Brazil at 27. Venezuela, 36.69 homicides per 100,000 people. Your statistical chance of being killed in Mexico, Venezuela, Brazil, South Africa, Nigeria, South Sudan, and Central Africa are kind of a wash. There's Russia, number 48. Russia is with homicides where we are with healthcare. 48 in the world. Yep. BS CIA says Central America is the highest in the world. Well, that's what we track too. The CIA doesn't give a shit about the murder rate in fucking Singapore too much. You know what I mean? So we would be more concerned about this. We'd be more aware of it. Canada next to nothing. Greenland has a higher homicide rate than we do. We have to take that place over. Denmark, what are you doing? Australia, 0.89, less than one person per 100,000. New Zealand, even lower. Kenya is at 10. Tanzania is at 6.4. I would argue, let's see, 3.26 is Liberia. Okay. Some of these countries, Senegal is 0.27. That's pretty good. Either that or they're not keeping track. They're surrounded by an area of gray, so hard to say. Algeria, Morocco. Let's see if we can jump straight into something, though. Let's go over to here. Saudi Arabia, 1.27. Syria, 0.88. Do you believe that? Jordan, 136. Israel, 149. West Bank and Gaza, 0.49. So there are fewer homicides in Gaza than there per capita than there are in the United States, according to this, and Iraq, and Iran. Right. Mainly because I guess you can beat a woman to death for not wearing the right clothing, and right. So she's not. That's not going to chart, I'm guessing. Yeah. We went through the prison population by state. We did this. Domestic violence by state. A lot of parallels there. Crime rate by state. Here we go. This is the crime rate. If you're going to, what's the average? The highest is New Mexico, again, Louisiana, Colorado, South Carolina, Arkansas. And by the way, one of the reasons why Mississippi is lower is because they don't count criminal on criminal crime rate. Check the suicide rates. I don't know that they have those. I will check them, Groove Dragon. Arkansas is right up there. South Carolina. This is the crime rate. And you can tell all shockingly blue states. Lauren Boebert states, number 3. New Mexico, Louisiana, South Carolina, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Washington State, Tennessee, Oregon, Missouri, Alaska, Utah, Hawaii, Arizona, Texas, North Carolina. Where's this California? There it is. California, number 19. Crime rate per 100,000 right there. Below Alabama, just above Montana. Mississippi, I call bullshit. Nevada, because gambling, if you lose, that's not considered a crime. Pennsylvania, it's way down here. New Hampshire is doing pretty good. Vermont, we have more guns than people know, so that's going to be some of that, And we also, what we consider a crime, is much higher than what other people consider a crime. And something in New Jersey that happens would not be considered a crime in Vermont. So they don't even bother to count it. We would. Safest states. Obviously not New Mexico. Shock. California's 29th. What's number 1? Let's see. The safest state is Massachusetts, of course. New Jersey, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, Idaho. Idaho, because there's nobody around. Iowa, because nobody cares. Minnesota, Nebraska, Vermont. Many places rural and not a lot of big cities. Gets pretty safe pretty quick. New York, though, doing pretty well at 12. Wisconsin, 13. North Dakota. And at the bottom of the barrel, Louisiana, Alaska, because of all the rapey, murdery, serial killer guys. New Mexico, Tennessee, Nevada. Nevada's up there because it's a lot of passers through. Mississippi.